Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel here at Ruck and Roll Rugby. It's been a while, but we are back now and looking forward to the Autumn Internationals that kick off this Saturday. In this video, Brandon and I from BS Rugby have gone through the international that's going ahead on Saturday between Wales and New Zealand, talked about some of the key players and the key clashes and where we see this game going. There will be a review of the game afterwards on Sunday evening, and that will be over on Brandon's channel. So please make sure to head across and give him a like and subscribe to his channel in preparation for that. But whilst you're here now, please make sure we are back up and running now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And every time that I post a new video, you'll be the first to know. So let's get into this preview, looking at Wales taking on the All Blacks this Saturday. Hey guys, and welcome back to Ruck and Roll Rugby, where today I've got Brandon Smith with me from BS Rugby, and we're going to go through the Wales versus New Zealand team for the upcoming Autumn International on Saturday. First things first, how are you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm really looking forward to this Autumn International. I was excited to see how Wales do, and what a test we have coming up against the All Blacks.
Yeah, definitely. And you look at the result from the weekend, and it certainly doesn't look like they're coming over here to take the series lightly. You know, sticking well over 100 points on the USA on Saturday. But Wales, with all their injury problems, with all the players that are unavailable for selection, we have managed to put a team together, surprisingly enough, and I put it up on the screen for you now. So going through from front row to fullback, we've got Wyn Jones, Ken Owens, and Thomas Francis making up the front row. Ken Owens has now actually been withdrawn from the side due to failing a late fitness test. So Ryan Elias comes in to fill that front row. Adam Beard and Alan Wyn-Jones are paired up in the second row. And then it's an all Dragons affair in the back row with Ross Moriarty, Taine Basham, and Aaron Wainwright with the 8 jersey on his back. An exciting half-back pairing of Thomas Williams and recently fit again Gareth Anscombe, hoping to pick up where he left off back in 2019. Then leaving in the centres, Johnny Williams and Jonathan Davis, leaving an exciting back three of Josh Adams, Owen Lane, and Johnny McNichol at fullback. As I mentioned, Ryan Elias has now been promoted to the starting 15, so he is replaced on the bench by Cardiff Rugby's Kirby Myhill. And the rest of the bench is as follows. So Rhys Carey, Dylan Lewis, Will Rowlands, Seb Davis, Gareth Davis, Rhys Priestland, and Ben Thomas making up our fullback slot. So, Brandon, what are your thoughts on that team, mate? Lots of interesting calls, lots of potential. Could go one way or another, but considering what we've got available, what do you think of that team?
Yeah, I think it's the team we, to be honest, mostly expected with all the injuries that we've got. I really like the look of that back row. We'll come on to one of those players shortly. But I think Pivac's, gone for, as I said, what we'd expect, to be honest, and what he really trusts. There's a lot of players in there who maybe on form have not been playing the greatest level of rugby, but they're players that he knows either from his time with the Scarlets or his time coaching Wales. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do. But on the whole, I'm pretty happy with the squad. And do I think this squad is strong enough to go against the All Blacks? We'll have to wait and see. But I think it's the strongest that we could have gone with.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there were a lot of positions where we sort of knew what we were going to go, what we were going to end up with then, basically. But there were a lot of those positions then where we thought, well, they could go one way or another. One of them was in the back row, obviously. So there was a few inclusions that shocked some people. But the man that's got the 7 jersey for Saturday, Taine Basham. Now, I've absolutely loved watching him at the start of this season for the Dragons. Watched him a few weeks back when they played the Stormers on a Friday night. And considering the size he is, this guy was like a human wrecking ball. You know, he's running into tackles, running into carries, and he's just such a strong presence on the ball. So the first question to you on Taine Basham's inclusion, why do you think Pivac's gone for him over the likes of maybe a Thomas Young? I know there were question marks over Ellis Jenkins, whether he was fit or not. So why do you think Taine Basham's got the nod?
Well, first of all, we have to talk about the injuries. There are a lot of injuries at 7. The likes of Navidi could play there, probably would play at 6, but then Tiprick is out. He's not available either. Ellis Jenkins maybe hasn't played enough rugby yet, and there's still question marks over his fitness. But I think Taine Basham's been playing really, really well. As you said, for the size that he is, the impact that he has on getting over the gain line is pretty exceptional. And also, I've been really impressed with his ball handling skills, how comfortable he is with ball in hand. And I think that balance of him and Wainwright and Moriarty is a really nice balance. I think it's going to be a big test for them, and we'll probably get onto the tactics of the game later on. But I'm really excited to see how he goes. I think he deserves this opportunity. He's been flirting with the Welsh camp for a couple of years now. And because we have such depth in the back row, it's always been like, he's on the periphery, he's not quite there. But now that, unfortunately for those injured, but fortunately for him, he now has the opportunity to show what he can do. And I'm really excited. And if I was Pivac, I'd be saying, just go and play, go and do your thing, not put pressure on him. Look, we're against the All Blacks, but go and have a go.
Oh, I completely agree with you. I think he's one of those players that, like you said, we're so fortunate in Wales to have such a rich depth of back rowers available to us. And it's almost like, well, you take one world-class 7 out and, oh, look, there's another one ready to come in. And also you can have an extra one on the bench as well. So we've always been really fortunate in that respect. So when you say, oh, you know, we've gone with Taine Basham with the likes of Tipuric and Navidi out, still a really, really exciting option. You know, in terms of internationally, he hasn't had a chance to maybe flex his muscles in the way that he would have liked to, but this is the perfect opportunity now. We talked about it a few weeks ago when I was talking to you about the Autumn Internationals as a whole. This is a big chance for players to put their hands up now, and it's players like Taine Basham that can really say, look, if I can do it against the best in the world, I need to be involved in the Welsh setup a lot more often than I am at the moment, and I think Saturday is the perfect starting point for that. I want to go on and sort of expand this discussion now, talking about the back row as a whole. Wainwright moving across to 8 now. Obviously, in his early days in and amongst the Welsh squad, he was selected primarily as a 6 and being given that opportunity to be more of a, like you said, that ball player that Gatland liked to have. But now under Pivac, he's sort of pushed Wainwright across to that 8th position. Do you think that's a position that he'll maintain for the entirety of the game, or do you think that the likes of him, Moriarty, they'll sort of interchange depending on where they are on the pitch, do you think?
Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because Moriarty is comfortable at playing at 8 as well. And you just said that Moriarty probably is the more physical of the two, but Wainwright this season under Dean Ryan at the Dragons has been playing a lot of 8. He probably is a little bit more comfortable with ball in hand than Moriarty, more comfortable with passing. So maybe he's seeing him as a link player, especially at the scrum. Maybe there's an idea with the scrum where he'll peel off the back and feed it to Thomas Williams. That might be something that Pivac's looking to do to try and get some quick ball for the team. It's going to be interesting because for me, the All Blacks, the place they stand out is their speed of ball at the breakdown. And if we can slow that ball down or at least get quick ball ourselves, then we stand a chance in this game. That's why I think we will miss Navidi a lot. But I think Wainwright's a fantastic player. Was dropped a couple of years ago by Gatland, strangely, which I never quite understood because I've always been a huge fan of his. But the ability of those three, Taine Basham, Moriarty and Wainwright, especially Wainwright and Moriarty, to just interchange and to be comfortable in each position is really, really good. And I'm excited to see how he goes. So I would expect him to play that game out at 8 because, let's be honest, I don't feel like there's pressure on this All Blacks game for Pivac. I think it's just go and play. We saw what the All Blacks can do to the US. Yes, the US weren't great, but that was probably second, third string All Blacks team. And they've been incredible over the Rugby Championship. So it's going to be an interesting test for Wainwright at 8, trying to stop that back row with the likes of Sevilla. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you look at the interchangeability of that All Blacks back row, like you said, you know, Sevilla, I think in 2021 has played 6, 7 and 8. So like you look at players like that, and Wainwright is definitely one that fits the bill. Moriarty, likewise, you know, they could sort of interchange between it. But you know, Basham is in there. He can turn balls over. He can carry really, really well. His tackling is ferocious, and that's exactly what we're going to need. Like you said, not only stem that All Blacks flow, but also get our own attack going as well. But to get our own attack going, obviously, we need the back line to start moving. And Thomas Williams gets the nod at 9, which, you know, we've both talked about this. I think that's probably the best position for us moving forward is with Thomas Williams at 9. But your man, Mr. Anscombe, has got the nod at 10. So back in the Welsh setup for the first time since his injury pre-2019 World Cup. And his first opportunity then against the All Blacks, he's back in. What was your thoughts when you saw that name pop up on the team sheet this morning?
Delighted, absolutely delighted. I'm a huge Anscombe fan, as you can probably say from the smile on my face. I think he deserves it. I think he has been the outstanding 10 in Wales at the start of the season, although Priestland has started really well for Cardiff Rugby. And I think the plan was always for Anscombe to start and Biggar come off the bench. Obviously, Biggar isn't available for this one because he plays in England, but Anscombe just really offers that attacking element to the game that I think sometimes with our 10s in the past we've lacked a little bit. That ability to look up, maybe see the cross kick, maybe see the little gap, the awareness of whether to take into contact or to play it out wide. And I think his goal kicking has really improved over the last few years. And, the guy's had a torrid time with injuries. He had that injury. We thought he was getting back, had that setback, and then finally came back. And it's going to be emotional for him as well, I'm sure, playing against the All Blacks, the country of his birth. Maybe he would have had aspirations when he was younger to play for them, and now he's lining up in the red of Wales. But I'm not going to complain because he's a good player. But I'm excited to see how he does. And you mentioned Thomas Williams, and I think that partnership's a really exciting partnership. Whether they are defensively stable enough compared to maybe Thomas Williams and Dan Biggar, I'm not sure, but I do think Anscombe offers more going forward. And the reality is, again, we've spoken about the All Blacks, how good they are. I think you just got to take this game with a pinch of salt. I think the games against South Africa and Australia will be the bigger, will be the more realistic tests for us. Will be more of a gauge of where we're at. So I'm really excited to see how he does. I think he deserves the opportunity. I think he deserves it. Yeah, he deserves it. But I think Priestland is certainly knocking out the door, and he's welcome back into the squad as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like he was a former Cardiff Blue prior to us changing our name. So a lot of time for Gareth Anscombe. His flexibility is incredible. He can play fullback, he can play 10, and he can play comfortably and competently in both positions. I like we said there, I think he has got that creative edge to him. If the All Blacks are coming up as a flat line, he's not afraid to drop the ball in behind that defensive line and put pressure on. And with the likes of Johnny Williams and Jonathan Davis outside him, those two with that Scarlets connection, you hope that they'd be able to carry that forward and sort of read off the same wavelength, because when he's fit, Pacho plays in a very, very similar way, up to the line, looking for those opportunities, and the distribution is going to be key. There is one more that I am going to drop in, just because not so much is surprised at his inclusion, but maybe not the position that he would have wanted to be, is Johnny McNichol. Now, he's been given the 15 jersey, which he's played more than enough times for the Scarlets, but primarily through a Wales focus when he has been involved. He's been more of a wing op. But McNichol at fullback, where were you thinking when that name was read out this morning?
It's an interesting one, certainly is. The issue is, who else could we have put there, to be honest? Liam Williams isn't available, so he's not going to be able to do it. Do you bring Priestland back into the fold and throw him straight up fullback? Would you put Anscombe straight up fullback? I'm just not too sure on that. McNichol, as you said, has played plenty there. The international level is very difficult, and I think it's going to be a tough afternoon for him. The battle, if Bowden Barrett does play at 15, maybe Moanga at 10, will be interesting to see what they do with that. But I think it's going to be tough for him, and against obviously the country of his birth as well. But we've spoken about this so many times, and Pivac even admitted to it when he selected this squad. He's going to pick players who have done well for him in the past, either at international level or at club level. And he has actually started the season okay this season for the Scarlets. So the Scarlets have had a really torrid time to start the season off. But again, it's that flexibility, isn't it? That he can go over to the wing on both wings, cover fullback. And there's a man on the wing already who I think has to start on the wing because of his form. That's Owen Lane. And I think he has to start on the wing. I think he deserves this opportunity. So to get Owen Lane into the team, you've got to start Josh Adams, because Josh Adams is a world-class finisher. We didn't really have many options at fullback, so I'm not against it. Defensively, I'm not convinced, maybe under the high ball as well. I think the All Blacks will look to utilise that quite a bit, as they're quite comfortable with kicking the ball. Of course, you have the new rule where they can kick it into your 22 and get the line out as well, which I think they'll look to implement as well. So I think he's going to have a busy day.
Yeah, it's going to be a big afternoon for him. I think his form attacking wise for the Scarlets has been, he's probably one of the best in the URC at the moment. The way he can seek an opportunity. He's one of those wingers I love watching because you see so often nowadays the wingers are constantly looking for that step back inside. They're looking to come back towards their support. He's one of those wingers you watch. He always backs himself. He'll take it down the touchline. He'll try and run as close as he can down those tram lines. If he gets tackled into touch, he gets tackled into touch. If he's got the ability to get a grubber away, which, like you said, with the new 50-22 rule, that could be something that they look to utilise throughout the game and try and stretch the All Blacks as wide as possible. But, he's going to be required a lot, I think. Like you said, the high ball, they'll certainly test him early on. I think they'll put a few early ones up just to test him, under the lights of Cardiff on Saturday evening and the full contingent watching on. So it'll be a difficult start for him. But I think it's something he's more than capable of. Now, one name on the bench that interests me a lot, obviously, we see the Priestlands back in the mix, but also as our utility back, young Ben Thomas gets the nod as a utility back. I'll be honest, when I heard the announcement earlier in the week, I thought, I've got to be honest, Cuthbert's coming here. I can see that Cuthbert's going to take that last position on the bench. But he's said from an early stage, Pivac likes Ben Thomas. He likes what he brings to Cardiff Rugby as that sort of dual playmaker. So do you see him featuring in this game? And if you do see him featuring, at what time would you say, right, let's bring him on now and let's see what he can do?
It's a difficult one because to play against the All Blacks is any player's dream. We saw how much it meant to the USA last week that their players got an opportunity to play against them. But if you're losing by about 50 points, is it good for him to come on in that situation? It might be, because it might be free. It might be, look, we're losing, just go out and play, do something, have a go. It can't get any worse. But I'm praying and hoping that the game is close to that point later on in the game. I'd like to see him come on, yes. And I think the great thing about him is his versatility. He can play 10, he can play 12, can certainly play fullback as well. So offers that versatility. So if there is an injury, we can put him on, we can give him a go. And, we're 2 years out from the World Cup. So if Pivac is seriously wanting him in that World Cup squad, he needs to be starting to integrate him into the squad more frequently now over this autumn internationals. And again, as I said at the start, this game for me is a little bit of a free hit. I'm not expecting us to beat the All Blacks. I'm not expecting it to be particularly close, but I'd rather see us give it a go, play some good rugby, see what Pivac is really trying to do with this squad. And if that means giving Ben Thomas 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes at the end of the game, I'm all for it for sure.
Yeah, and I think it puts a lot of trust in the players on the pitch as well. The likes of Johnny Williams and Jonathan Davis. To me, that's Pivac saying, look, we've got Ben on the bench as an option if we need him, but I need you two to have a big game. We're desperate. We're quite low off in the centre, which is why I was a little bit surprised that Kieran Williams didn't get a call up, or Owen Watkin. There we go, and mashed them together for no reason whatsoever. That's why I'm surprised neither of those got a call up midweek, because I think that's one area of the pitch. Obviously we'll have Tompkins as of next week when the English contingent come over, and he's played really well. I watched him against Wasps on Saturday and on Sunday, I think it was, and he was incredible. He really played well and really ignites a little bit of a spark in that back line, which is what we saw when in the early stages at Wales. But yeah, I think it does put a lot of trust in those players that Pivac has started to say, look, go out there, you need a big performance, and I've got a youngster on the bench who is raring to go, full of excitement, full of talent, and he's ready to go. Talking about talent and excitement, just going to flash up the New Zealand team now. Wow. I don't think we can talk so much on individual basis about this All Blacks team, but how do you see the All Blacks playing? Obviously, we saw a much changed New Zealand team against the US on Saturday. A lot of names that I hadn't seen before. There were a couple of players that stood out for me, and they really did look exciting. But how do you see them coming down? Do you think they'll try and attack us in the same way they did against the US, or do you think they're prepared for more of a physical battle this time round?
Well, naturally, we are better than the USA, and that's no disrespect to the USA. We are better than them, and yeah, the USA weren't great last week, but it is the All Blacks. I think the All Blacks will look to attack. It's just how they play. They always look to attack like that. They encourage players to express themselves on the field. They say if you spot a gap, go for it. They're very eager to get quick ball, which they are ridiculously good at. And then TJ at 9 is able then to spring the ball out. And when you got someone like Mwanga or Barrett behind there, then they can create something out of nothing. They are going to come and attack us. It's really, really important for us to try and slow that ball down. It's much easier said than done. And with Surveyor at 7, probably, I mean, he's one of the best players in the world right now, in my opinion. I think he's just off the scale how good he is. They are going to attack us, and we've got to be defensively solid. We probably will. I think the game will probably be a little bit too open for what we want. I think we'll want to keep it tight, and I think in that opening 20 minutes, we've got to keep the scoreline down. It's so important for us. We saw the USA last week. I think they conceded within the first 5 minutes. Yeah. And then after that, it was try after try after try after try. And we can't afford to let that happen. We know how good the Principality sounds when it's full. And I hope the roof will be closed. And I would be surprised if it's open, actually. And that sound and that support could drive us. But we've got to try and slow that ball down. But New Zealand will express themselves. Their set pieces look pretty solid over the Rugby Championship, and it's that speed of ball. It's just ridiculous. We've got to try and slow the ball down.
Yeah, I think, like, linked to what you said there, I think we've got to try and, to an extent, try and drag them into an arm wrestle, because that's where we can sort of get a foothold into the game. We can frustrate sides, with the likes of, we've already talked about the likes of Taine, Basham, Wainwright, they'll be in there looking for those turnovers. We can disrupt ball, we can cause problems, but it's backing that up then, it's when we get those opportunities down in the 22, those best sides in the world, your New Zealand's, your Australia's, your South Africa's, they come away from there with points, and I think that's something we've been notoriously guilty of against these big teams, is that we get our chances and we always say, we had so many chances in that game, we have to take them. And it's going to take the senior heads in there, Alan Wynne, captain in the side, Adam Beard in it with his lock partner, he'll be bringing experience back from his time with the Lions over the summer. Jonathan Davis is, for me, this is probably one of his biggest games, because he's really been trying his hardest to get himself back into form at the minute. And I think this for him is a make or break game. He's got a lot of players nipping at his heels. We talked about the 2 boys from the Ospreys. We've got the youngster and Iron Owen coming down at the Dragons. You've got 2 Cardiff rugby centres, Max Llewellyn and Mason Grady. They're going to be in the mix, in the next few years' time. So he really has to start standing up now and showing the experience that he had. Christ, in 2017, he was the man of the series against New Zealand, but they knew they couldn't deal with him. Yeah. So he has to perform well today. So on Saturday, sorry. So just to finish, mate, one last question. I'm going to throw you under prediction for Saturday. Give me a rough scoreline and how you see the game going.
It could go 2 ways. If New Zealand score early, I worry for us a lot. If we can keep it tight and frustrate them, and at the breakdown, if we can slow the ball down illegally or legally, I don't mind giving away a couple of early penalties. I don't mind that if we can slow them down a bit. I'm going to go 52-18 to the All Blacks. I think that's what the score will be. I think if we can keep it to about that, if we can get a couple of tries, I think that'll be a good afternoon. I think if we get 2 tries, I'd be happy. And if we can keep the score under 50-60, I think that's a good day at the office for us.
Yeah, I'm similarly to you, mate. I think as long as it's not an absolute hiding, I think we've got to take whatever we can from Saturday. Similarly to you, I think the first 20 minutes are massive. I think, if we are 21, 28 points down after the first 20 minutes, I think heads will drop. I think, even though we mentioned the likes of Alan Wynne-Jones and Jonathan Davis there, other than that, there's not a great deal of experience around the park. So I think it is going to be one of those things that if we start going behind, heads will drop. But I know that Thomas Francis has come out this week and said that the boys have got a lot of confidence going into the game Saturday. They sense there's an opportunity here to make a statement, and why not? You're playing formerly the best side in the world. So it's going to be a thoroughly entertaining affair. So fingers crossed Wales can do a job. Thank you ever so much for joining me, Brandon. And we are going to do a review show over on Brandon's channel on Sunday. So in the meantime, make sure you head over to BS Rugby. I'll leave a link down in the description below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Put the notification bell on as well. So as soon as that review drops, you'll be able to hear us chatting about it all over again. But thank you very much for jumping on, mate. And hope you enjoy the game Saturday.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, bud.